Good morning, friends. Welcome to a very chilly morning in Australia and to a week in my reading life. My goal for this week is to catch up on my reading challenge goal because somehow I found myself 13 books behind, which has never happened before for me to slide so far back. Usually I'm ahead at this time of the year, so I would just like to handle that. It's like not really a real thing, but it just makes me feel better. And it just, by the end of the year, I would have liked to have read more. It's not like I've been like reading closely and that's why I'm reading less. I just haven't been finishing as much. I've been reading, but just not finishing as much. So I'm gonna go through the TBR real quick and then we'll get going. The first thing that I'm doing this morning is I'm gonna go for a run, try to warm up a little bit. And for that, I'm gonna try listening to audiobooks whenever I'm doing my workouts and my runs this week. Any chores that I have to do, just get a little bit of reading done in the meantime. And the one that I'm in the middle of right now is called The Once and Future Sex by Eleanor Janega. And this is written by a medievalist, and it's about women's roles in medieval society. And it talks a lot about kind of like the later medieval era, like post French influence on England, but it's not limiting itself to that. So it does go around to different countries, but that's really what it's spent the most of the book talking about so far. I'm like 70-something% of the way through it, so I don't usually listen to audiobooks on my runs. I usually listen to music, so we'll see how it goes. Like I listen to audiobooks if I'm on a walk, but for runs I kind of like music to keep going, so we'll see if I can do it. And then the other audiobook that I have prepared for this week is Root Magic by Royce, and this has been very recommended by Kiki at If This Is Paradise over on Instagram, who I think is just, maybe the best bookstagrammer there is. She does incredible close readings of books and just always, I appreciate her critical eye on everything. But this book is a historical fantasy, 1960s Gullah folk magic. That's all the keywords I know so far, but really her recommendation is all that I need to get going. Some of the physical books I have, I recently talked about in kind of my current reads in my book haul. I'm almost done with Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho, which is a fantasy with spirits and mythology and rival gangs and family relations. So this is what I'm reading for the next GG Note reread on No Cartridge. So I'm almost done with that. So hopefully I can finish that. Hopefully maybe even today. That would be great. And then I have a couple of novellas that I want to get to. I already talked about this one, Loaded, which is about a gay Greek teen in Melbourne. Music, drugs, sex, we'll see where it goes. And Gentlemen Callers, which is by a Belgian author and seems weird, which is, what we want. Every night when she goes to sleep, a woman dreams of erotic encounters with different men. She dreams of being the sponge squeezed to foaming in a gas station attendant's hand, and of twining her bare skin with an elephant seal's thick pelt under the watchful eye of the circus trainer. So it sounds kind of psychedelic, maybe. We'll see. That's a strong feeling to put to something, but I think it's got a beautiful cover as well. That's kind of the feeling that I'm hoping it gives. We have on e-reader Helpmeet by Naben Ruthnum, which is about a woman, also historical fiction. This one was classified as horror. A woman who is taking care of her husband who is like dying from this unknown disease that's making his body just like fall apart, and it's supposed to get weird and existential from there. So we'll see where that goes. It's also a novella. And then I have some graphic novels lined up because this is the mainstay to anyone trying to catch up on their reading challenges. So we have Witchblood by Matthew Ehrman, and then that's the primary author listed. I'll have the cover here, and it'll show you the illustrator and writer's names, which looks like a cyberpunky horror graphic novel. I haven't looked too far into any of these. They just looked interesting, and I like to go into a graphic novel knowing the least possible. The Baker and the Bard by Fern Haught, which is a cozy fantasy. That sounds nice. It sounds warming for this chilly week. We have Shook, which is a black horror anthology, so assorted authors. Black Paradox, a Junji Ito. What would we do without him? He's always got something for us to read, and I haven't read this one yet. And then the Encyclopedia of Early Earth by Isabel Greenberg, which to my understanding is fables about the early peoples of the earth, and has Hark a Vagrant vibes if the blurbs are to be believed. So I think that's a pretty good start. That's not quite 13, I don't think. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's like 11 things that I have planned so far for this rest of the week. It's already Wednesday, so we'll see what we get to. Hopefully we add on some things along the way. That would be great. Maybe we'll fully catch up. We'll see. So I'm ready to go for my run, and I will talk to y'all again soon with an update. I'm just getting back from my run, kind of. The run went okay. The book, I had to switch over to music like halfway through because the run was a little bit harder than I was expecting. It's like my first time like running whenever it's cold, because I've really just gotten into running in the past few months, and it was the first time it was like chilly. Like I never even took my sweatshirt off. So like 15 minutes in, I was like, we gotta get some Charli XCX. So it was okay. Usually I would run later in the day whenever it's like a little bit sunnier and warmer, but it's supposed to be cloudy and windy all day. And like immediately after I finish recording this, I need to go prepare for the podcast. I'm recording in just a few minutes and just need to go over my notes again. We're doing an indie game review today, so interested in talking about that. It's a visual novel, a horror visual novel, so really up my alley. But I did stop at the op shop. Daisy, it's not that big of a deal. I did stop at the op shop to see if there's any horror books that I could use for the Jalo July prompts that I don't currently have books for. I can always use the library or like buy something, but I just wanted to see if there's anything in the op shop. But I did get a throw. Can't have enough blankets right now because it is so cold inside. In Louisiana, it's always warmer inside the house than outside, and it's the opposite here. The houses are built for like wicking heat because it gets so hot too. So it's nice during the summer, but like literally does not keep any heat in the house, and there's no like central heating. You just have like a heater in the living room and bundle up, baby. And then I got this cute little clock. I thought that it was like cute as a little decor piece. I like the off-white and the like neon green. I just thought like on a shelf or something, it's something that I like the colors of and gives a little bit of like texture and movement. Yeah, so that's decor with Olivia. The house is still a work in progress, so every clock counts, baby. And the book is going okay. The book is going okay. It just wasn't. The cats have the zoomies right now. It just wasn't fueling me during a hard run. But I'm almost done with it. It's kind of like wrapping up and being like, you know, people, aren't we so glad we're past all of this now? And just like that, there's like this modern view that the medieval times were so bad for women, and we're just like on a, straight road of progression for women's rights, and looking back at the history and being like, actually, no, that's not the case. That, there was things that women had in medieval times that they didn't, later, and social views of women have changed, and in relation to like seeing women as workers or as sexual or whatever, that progress is not just a straight line. So you can't just like sit back and relax. I think that people have kind of like realized that now, now that we're past the Obama years of delusion, that things aren't just going to get better just because like time makes things better. Time does not make things better. And it's something that you have to like actively engage with. So I don't think anything crazy different is going to happen in the book in the last 30 minutes of the audiobook, but I'll let you know still whenever I'm done. But I gotta go record, so talk to you again soon. Bye. I thought you were saying that there's a delusion in the game that was separate from us as the player character as a delusion. Yes, okay. Hello, so it's a good bit later now. I did get to finish The Once and Future Sex. I gave it 3 stars. It ended up being exactly how I said it was going. So nothing spectacular, but it was definitely readable and enjoyable, but kind of like what, if you read about feminism or gender studies ever, it's not anything that's like, totally unexpected. But it was good. It gave, history in a very readable and entertaining way. But that's my first book done. So now we're down to only 12 books behind. I started Root Magic, and I'm really enjoying that so far. It's following a young girl who lives off of the coast of South Carolina. Her family speaks Gullah, that they do this like root folk magic that is considered illegal during that time in the 60s. It's giving me a lot of like historical perspective of, what was going on in that area in the 60s. And the little girl has just lost her grandmother and is being told by her grandfather it's time that you learn the magic that your grandmother was doing. So that's really good so far, and I'm looking forward to where that goes. But I have about an hour until Daniel gets home from work, so I'm going to try to read as much as possible until then. The State of Origin games are starting tonight, and I'm not sure if he'll want to go out. It starts at 8 o'clock. Is that normal for a sporting event to start at 8 o'clock? That we can go watch it at the pub. 8 o'clock at night, and it's cold. Those poor boys out there playing. But until then, I don't know. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to read Helpmeet. I think I might be able to read this. It's a novella, and I'm already 20% in. If I can finish this before he gets home, or do the responsible thing and finish this up. I think I have about like 60 more pages, so that's doable as well, and I could just be done with this book. Not that I want to be like done with it, but I've been reading it for a while. Like, let's wrap it up, girly. It's just like it's not as fun to read. There's something about this like you have to really hold it open, and it's too big to just like do one-handed. So I should probably do it now because I know I'm not gonna want to read it like that in bed later. I'm not sure if I'll update after Daniel's home, but let's go ahead. Let's finish Blackwater Sister. Let's see if we can read 60 pages in an hour. I think it's doable. All right, I'll see y'all then. So to catch you up to speed with where we're at, last night we did not go out to watch the game. We watched it at home because it was cold. It didn't start till 8 o'clock. I wanted to be home and cozy. New South Wales got absolutely destroyed. So, you know, we probably wouldn't have stayed the whole time anyway. It's very cold again this morning. Oh, Daniel came home early last night, so I didn't update whenever I did finish Blackwater Sister. What a book. What a book. I gave it 4 stars. I thought the plot was really interesting. All of the cultural elements that were infused in the story were all really thoughtful. Things that I thought it was like leaving by the wayside, like it eventually pulls those things back in, especially like the queer elements of the story. Like the story starts with the main character Jess being talked to by a ghost in her head that's like, does your mom know that you're let me look up what the word is. Does your mother know you're a pink kid? Which she doesn't know that word, like what that means in Hokkien, I think is the language that her grandmother speaks in. And so she asked her mom like what that word means later, and her mom's like instantly on edge, and I was like, where did you hear that word? Anyway, it means lesbian, and like her mom was like it's a very uncomfortable culture for Jess to come out into, like with her parents, and so that's like a source of anxiety for the character throughout the story, because she has this girlfriend who she's supposed to be moving to Singapore with, but she is scared to come out to her parents, and so has not really made any efforts to do this. I like how it all pulled back together at the end, and like having this be a story in her life. Everything wrapped up pretty neatly in a way that you would think for a story that deals with like such big things with gods and gangs, that it wouldn't be able to fit together neatly and then be satisfying and believable. But I really liked it. It did feel like there was like parts in the middle where it did feel like a little bit repetitive in terms of like the information that we were getting. And it felt like a long 400-page book. It was just, you know, whenever you're seeing similar scenes. But overall, I liked it, and I can't wait to talk about it for the podcast because I think it's going to go really well with the game. And yeah, again, the podcast link will be down in the description. We would love to have you come listen, to join the Discord and talk about the book and the game with us. That would be awesome. And then, so after I finished that last night, I started Helpmeet, which I just finished. Do I like this book? Interesting. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I just think that it's not, there was things I really liked about it, but the story overall, it's not something that's gonna stick with me. There was some really well written body horror. I liked that. Very in depth and like very clinical in how it was done, which made sense because the main character Louise's husband Edward has this disease where his body's falling apart. He was previously a surgeon, and the story is a lot about her devotion to him, despite the fact that he's probably gotten this disease from all of the times that he's cheated on her with, with prostitutes and whoever. And so it's about like her love and devotion to him. I don't know. I don't know that that really resonated with me. There's other interesting, like, it goes like further than just like his body falling apart, but that's like, it's pretty cool. Watching his body fall apart. And there's other elements that, like, if you're going to read, then, like, you would want to read that for yourself, because it's only, like, the ebook was only, like, 115 pages. It was a short book. But we're two more books completed since the last time we talked, which is very exciting. Yeah, so who would I recommend this book to? I think if you really liked, like, Comfort Me with Apples, it's kind of the same tone as that. It is like a period piece. I think, yeah, it's right at the turn of the century. It's like 1900. So if you're interested in that and like reading a horror that's in that time period, then you may be interested in this. I mean, it's only 115 pages, so if it sounds interesting to you at all and you're ever like wanting to read just like a quick story, then like this would be, a fine one. But just like not something that I can see myself like being passionate about, because like I didn't really feel anything about this like relationship. So yeah, that's that on that. It is still very cold. I'm on like my like third cup of coffee today, which I've never made so much coffee in my life, and it's just so nice to just like have something warm to hold on to, something warm to drink. I'm not used to being this cold inside my house. About to go for a run, and we'll be listening to Root Magic, and hopefully that goes better than trying to listen to the medieval audiobook yesterday. I think it will, and I'm just trying to take it easy today and really condition myself to running in the cold. It's cloudy today too. If the sun was out, it really would not be nearly as cold outside. But I have to go to downtown later. I have to return some books to the library. I'm finally getting my hair cut. I'm so overdue. I just like kept putting off like finding a new salon. I get nervous about new people handling curls, and I just couldn't really, nothing really stuck out to me as being like the type of salon that I like. So we're just trying one out today, and at least my bangs will be cut, and they won't be bugging me anymore. So that's beautiful. And then whenever I get back from my run, I should have some time. I don't know if Daniel's coming home for lunch today. So I might be able to read, I might not. But whenever I'm like back at the house, I think I'm going to start reading some of my graphic novels. I'm really excited to start with like the Junji Ito, which I can read on my e-reader, which is really nice. Less nice is the fact that I can't read color stuff on my e-reader, so I'm gonna have to read it on my phone, which I think will be a little bit annoying. But we'll make it work. It's just so much nicer to read stuff on the e-reader, honestly. So yeah, that's what we'll be getting into. I really do need to go for a run, unfortunately. It'll be good. It'll be good. We're gonna listen to our book. We're gonna have a great time. And it's beautiful outside. It's beautiful other than the weather outside. All the leaves are still changing colors, and it feels so much more autumnal than Louisiana ever did. So beautiful. I'm so grateful for this day. The run went a lot better today. Still cold, but got a little bit warmer. Actually got to sweat a little bit, which never even happened yesterday. It was too cold to, I don't know. Maybe I just didn't make it long enough. Daniel's not coming home for lunch today, so I'm just gonna make a PB&J. PB&J is not as much of a thing, really. You know, that's what every kid eats for lunch in American schools. Not in Australia, they eat like Vegemite sandwiches. But this quandong jam is delicious. Quandong is a Australian bush fruit, like a bush tucker food, and it's described as like kind of like a peach, kind of like, I don't know, it's like tart, but that's what jam I'm using today. If you were at all interested in, you know, what vegans eat in Australia, this is obviously not the most exciting meal, but whenever it's just me eating, I'm just like not as motivated to make something. I like to cook for dinner, and then for lunch just kind of, I don't know, eat leftovers or a hummus salad sandwich or something like that. But Root Magic is also so good so far. The little girl is like going to school. It's a backdrop of like the end of segregation, like schools are starting to integrate, and like the white panic around like integrated schools. And she's like just accepted this responsibility to learn the root magic from her grandfather, and her sibling, her brother, is as well. I don't know if I mentioned this is like, I guess like a middle grade novel, young adult middle grade. And so it has, I don't know, I feel like middle grade is nicer than young adult to read sometimes. That sometimes stories are just better told from a children's perspective, whereas like young adult books are really about like children too. They're about teenagers, but they're like written as if they're adults, whereas like I'd rather just be written and so fully be about a child. So yeah, I'm only like 15% or something into the book so far, but still really liking it. And I was able to listen to it the whole time on my run today, that it wasn't like, it was able to motivate me a lot more than the medieval nonfiction. Tomorrow, though, Charli XCX's new album, Brat, is coming out. And so I feel like that's probably what I'm going to listen to during my workouts for a while, just because I'm really excited to hear it. I've been playing the songs that have been released so far nonstop, and they're like perfect for running, for motivating yourself. So yeah, that's what I'm up to for a little bit. After that, after I eat lunch, I'm gonna read a little bit, and then I gotta shower and go to the library before my hair appointment, which I'm so excited about. So everything is coming together. Yeah, so hopefully I get some, I don't know, tell me what you do whenever your hair is getting cut in a salon. Like, I usually just don't do anything. It's my most meditative time. I feel so awkward, like, being on my phone. Like, the few times I've gotten my hair colored, obviously, like, I'll be on my phone during, like, while it's, like, processing or whatever. But whenever they're just, like, cutting it or even styling it, I feel like it's, like, disrespectful. Also, I'm scared because this is my first time going to a salon and, like, not tipping. And, like, Australia, there's no tipping, but I really, like, Googled, like, are you sure I don't tip at a salon, like with someone who's like spending so much time with you? But everything says do not tip, and you know, I'm just going to respect the culture. But yeah, I'm excited, and maybe I'll show you, hopefully I get some stuff from the library. I'm gonna look for some Jalo July horror books, and I have to return some really overdue books, and I think I'll probably try to read downtown a little bit, but it depends on how cold I am feeling. So So what do you think? It is quite a bit later, but yes, I got my hair cut finally and I feel so human again. It lost a little bit of the curl that was in it after the salon, but that's okay because you know a girl's gonna make it curl back. It's so nice whenever someone else dries my hair. I just don't know how to do this at home because I've never really put any effort into, you know, learning how. But I went to the library afterwards and picked up some books. So a little library haul for you for the upcoming readathon, Jollo July, hosted by the Bookubus and then co-hosted by Bert of Story Time and Kelsey of Slime and Slashers. I'll link that announcement video down below, but I picked up Rouge by Mona Awad for the color prompt. I'll do a TBR for Jollo July anyway, because I'm super excited about it. But one of them's like a color word, so I picked Rouge because I wanted to read this anyway. The horror selection, it left a little bit to be desired, but that's okay. Also, I don't think I'll read this for Jollo July. I kind of want to drop everything and read it right now because 10 for the Devil by Trevor K. Bell. I'm so excited. This literally has 2 reviews on Goodreads. And it's about an island where 10 people are brought together by an unknown person, and then guests begin to fall one by one, and they're trying to figure out who's doing it before it's too late. With each death, a single line of the traditional magpie rhyme is unpicked from the prominent verse displayed above the fireplace. 10 people on an island getting picked off one by one, and then there's like this like nursery rhyme that's the backdrop for all this. That sounds a little bit familiar. I was so curious. I was like, what are the ratings for this? Because it seems like such a ripoff of, and then there were none. But I'm so curious. Is it a ripoff? Is it great? I want to find out ASAP. But it actually, like, despite being like a very like short length, it looks very like dense writing wise, and I'm scared if I start reading it now it'll put me in a reading slump, so that's not the mood. Something that I will be reading as part of this week is Dorodango, the Japanese art of making mud balls. This is the shit I love about going to the library, is you can just like pick up a like 100-page book on something that you didn't even know was a thing, and like, I'm just gonna read this and then I'm gonna know about these Japanese mud balls, and I never knew that that was an art before. So we love to learn, and it looks like a beautiful book as well, so excited about that. In the same line, I picked up Sydney Brutalism, which looks like a book that like there is text, but a lot of it's just pictures, so I think that I could possibly read this week. And I just thought it would be, you know, interesting to also put away in the old noggin before I ever visit Sydney. So, I mean, I've technically been to Sydney, but I literally landed in the airport and then left. So, not really. And then the last thing, I've been waiting to read this for so long, is Little Plum by Laura McPhee Brown, which I don't think I was posting on booktube at the time that I read Cherry Beach, her debut, but I loved Cherry Beach. Hopefully I read that again someday because it was so beautiful, and like I'll read anything that she writes, just like based off of like seriously one book, but she has a beautiful like Instagram presence as well. So I'm really excited to see what this is really all about. On the cusp of 30, Coral learns that a thing is growing inside her body. It is not necessarily a complete disaster, she tells herself. I'm okay, she tells herself. Soon the thing inside her is the size of a plum. Little Plum, she says, little Plum, I love you. And she wants to love it, the little Plum. It's just that she can't yet think of it as what it is becoming, a baby and not just a piece of fruit. It calls it Bold and Sensuous, a stunning follow-up to Cherry Beach. Embodied a magical novel so dark and earthy, colorful, and frightening. That's really, that sounds right. That sounds like what I kind of expect a Laura McPhee Brown book to be able to be dark and magical and sensuous. So looking forward to that. But now it's time to get back to reading. Good morning from a not quite as soul-crushing frigid morning in Australia. Last night I did read Black Paradox on my Kobo. It's my new favorite Junji Ito. Like, I was so shocked. I've loved all of his recent collections, which have been like short story collections, just like short manga stories. This one was more of a like longer narrative about Black Paradox, which is like a group of people who have met on an online forum to because I've decided to commit suicide together. And whenever this girl like meets up to go on this trip, she realizes that like none of these people are who they say they are, that they're all like a double. Like, one is like a robot replacement of the scientist that has supposedly decided to kill himself, and one is like a girl in the mirror, and one is a doppelganger. And so like that was already weird. It's like his campiest, funniest yet, that like whenever they're in the car to go kill themselves, one of the guys is just like, as you know, we are Black Paradox and we've all come together to kill ourselves, to, you know, like, it's just so funny. Like, it's so over the top in a way that's like, it just really, really hits for me, as well as that like the horror is really effective. And I feel like it's a lot about late stage capitalism and just the state that we all find ourselves living in, like the state of labor, what we sell our time and body for every day, and who's benefiting from that. And so it really just like had everything for me, and I was so happy to give it 5 stars. I was kind of surprised by it, but I think it's like one that I could recommend a lot of people read, like not even horror fans, or like, you know, people who find themselves like only reading horror, but it's just so funny. But you, I guess, have to like a campy sense of humor and to not think that it's like corny, but to like recognize that it's part of the point of it all. So I really like that. I'm gonna try to read Encyclopedia of Early Earth on my Kobo too, because it's just so much nicer to read on this than it is with like e-ink than it is to read on the phone with the pages. And that one does have color in it, but it was like very muted, so I think even in grayscale, like, it'll read similarly. I don't think it's going to affect my enjoyment of it, so I understand that I'm like not reading it how it was made, but I'm gonna be able to read it. The other ones I think are kind of like necessarily I need to read in color, but that's okay. I also started Gentleman Callers, and I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this so far. It's kind of going like man by man through her liaisons, and it's just kind of like weird, short, little, not even short stories, just like impressions, like almost like a, not a flash fiction kind of thing, but I think it'll make more sense the longer I go through it. But like, it like goes through their professions. Like the first guy she's with is a gas station attendant, and then a swimming instructor, the baker 1, the baker 2, the tailor. So yeah, that's kind of how it's going in each story starts with some sort of like quote from someone who is like, I guess, more esteemed academically. Like it's, so I think it's, you know, part of it's that juxtaposition of classes where it's like a mailman and then a quote from Guy de Maupassant. So not quite sure how I'm feeling about that one. It's not like super addictive to read, but it also, it goes pretty fast because they are just like short stories, like one after another. So we'll see how that progresses and see, I'm happy. Like even, the rate where we're reading, like I'm not finishing like a ton of stuff per day, but I finished, you know, I think 4 things so far. So we're chipping away at that reading progress, and we will be catching up. Maybe not this week, but we will be catching up to my reading challenge goal. So I'm gonna get back to reading now. Probably make myself another coffee first and warm up a little bit, and hopefully get right back into reading. I don't have too much on for today. Really, I don't think anything until Daniel comes home, and might go out tonight, might not. It's so easy to just be like, let's just stay home. I will, because I love cooking. So it's like, why do I want to go out to eat if I can just like cook something that's probably even better at my house? So I think it'll be a good day of reading and being cozy, and maybe getting some stuff done around the house. But yeah, I haven't finished reading anything. I've been like sidelined all day waiting for the Charli album to come out, and apparently like it came out in Australia like earlier, but I got it at the same time on my Spotify as the American release, because I still have, you know, my Spotify is still tied to being American, whatever. Brat. Is it my new favorite Charli album? Time will tell. I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be like my all-time favorite. I loved Crash, which is that my favorite right now? It's so hard to say. Like Pop 2 was, I mean, it might still be Pop 2. And I just feel so grateful that I got to see Charli during that era as well. That I saw her, like, I don't think I'll ever be able to see her again how I saw her touring Pop 2, like just in a club and being able to hear I Got It and being just like in a pretty small queer club in New Orleans. And now she's like doing arena tours, whatever. Good for her. Anyway, so Brat, my top 3 of the new songs, just on first listen. I've just done a first listen. My top 3 so far are 365. I think it's great, and I need to like play it a lot louder than like how I was listening to it too. And that was really like, I just finished that song and I was like, the song would be so good to hear in a club. Like I can't imagine hearing it in an arena in the same way. 365, So I think is so beautiful. I love her ballads and seeing her very vulnerable. It's okay to cry, especially on Brat. And number 3, I love Rewind. So those are my top 3 so far. I'm sure they'll change, but I'm very happy that it's out in the world, and I think it'll just keep growing on me. It's how do I want to say, different than expecting? I don't think I like thought too much about it, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more like house rave, and it's softer than that. It's, I mean, it has some of that, but it's also just like vulnerable and soft and emotional. So we love that. So this was my mini Brat review in the middle of this vlog. Hello again from a couple days in the future. I obviously didn't wrap up whatever was going on that day. It's so hard whenever Daniel's at home to vlog. I just want to do something different. But did we fully catch up on our reading goal? No. But I feel like it's a success because we cut like the deficit in like half. I read like 8 books. So I went from like being 13 or 14 books behind to like I don't know, whatever, you know, -8, you know. I can do the math, but I don't know if it ticked up like more books, you know, whatever. So books that I've finished since we last talked. I don't think I talked about this. Dorodango, The Japanese Art of Making Mud Balls. Oh my gosh, this book was such a treat. Because have I thought about doing this ever? I didn't know this was a thing. So yeah, I definitely haven't thought about doing it ever. But it was really beautiful about thinking about making art and treating something as beautiful that you usually think nothing about, which is dirt. Like you just don't have most people don't have a high level of esteem for dirt. But it was talking about how, you know, it's been here for eons and it's just like such a necessary part of life, and bringing attention to those things, talking about the idea that like some things didn't work the first time and he just kept at it, and the more that you do it, like the more that you just like inherently understand. Also just like how the soil is so different, even like a couple of miles apart. And I don't know, it got me curious. I kind of want to make one. And like, honestly, they're really beautiful at the end. Like they look like they're like polished, and this just like naturally happens. He's not like adding stuff in. It's just like how you do it. And then also this book really grew on me as I was reading it. Whenever I first started it, I was like, do I really want to read this? But it was, so I said it was about like liaisons with these men. So it's all the different jobs and like trades, the swimming instructor, the gas station attendant. And it feels like a Valentine. It's so cute because each thing is like all of these men loving this woman in the exact way that only they could because of their trade. Like, so the tailor, it's gonna have like metaphors about, I don't know, sewing, and the priest ones are very holy, and the circus trainer, you know, like it's very like romantic in that way. And because they're all like such short, like each one is only a page or two long, it felt, you know, I don't know who I would recommend this to, but like if you think that sounds like interesting as like an exercise in desire, then I liked it. It's definitely something that was very experiential to read, in that I don't really remember a lot about like the specifics, but because the characters were so just like transient. But yeah, it was good. And what else did I read? I started reading Witch Blood, which was so good, but I'm like reading it on my phone. And oh, The Baker and the Bard was not for me. I don't know if like cozy fantasy is just not for me, but it was really like, can things be cozy and like anything happen? Like you can't have any plot or tension, rising action, falling action, any action. Like I don't know if that's just a attribute of cozy fiction, but like I literally felt like I was on like tranquilizers or something. I don't know. So not for me, but I guess it was like, I mean, I guess it was sweet, but that did nothing for me for it to be sweet if it's like nothing. So that's not me being a hater, that's me being for real. So anyway, thanks for joining me reading this week. Really an exercise too, and just vlogging, because I haven't done it before, and that I'll have to learn how to edit all this together. So if you're seeing this, then I'm smarter in the future than I am now. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.